Welcome back to Lost in Roshar, the ultimate journey through the Stormlight Archive. I'm Christian Kremling.
And I'm Jimmy Stormblessed. Today, we are diving into Wind and Truth preview chapters 10, 11, 12, wait for it, and 13, all for free. Spoiler warning, obviously, for book 5 and all of the rest of the Stormlight Archive. Usually, we'll give you some warnings before we spoil any other Cosmere books if we do. But other than that, you need to beware because we are in these preview chapters. We're in the thick of it now, Christian. We finished day 1, dude.
Yeah, I can't believe we finished day 1, actually. That's kind of giving me hope. We're going to get a few days, I reckon, before December. I think, what do you reckon, day 3? Day 3 will be out, maybe?
Yeah, day 3. So I'm kind of wondering how the structure of the novel will go, because surely there's going to be a part that's at post day 10, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. Is day 10 going to be... at what point do we reach day 10 is the big question.
Oh, I have an idea. Okay. What if he does something like this? What if you do day 10, all this stuff happens, all the Sprinter gone, whatever, Stormlight's gone.
Yeah.
And then the epilogue is called day 0 for a new Roshar.
0. Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
He's great at little flips like that. You know what I would like? If we'll probably get interludes now, but after interludes, if it's day 6, just to mess with us, and it's like a Pulp Fiction-esque novel where it's all out of order.
I feel
there's no way.
I actually really like that idea, but there is absolutely no way that he would do that to his audience.
This brings me back to because you guys don't know, but we've flipped the schedule. Usually I'm up at the crack of dawn, and Jimmy's got the mood lighting on. But this time we tried to record this morning. It was the biggest, just everything went wrong. Nothing. Yeah. Jimmy was turning into Daft Punk every 2 seconds.
Oh, I was hilarious. I don't know what you're talking about. I was putting out some bangers.
Oh, you were. Yeah, between having to record the intro 17 times and then the internet not working. Now it's late for me and early for you. And we used to do this, the first 10 eps or so of Lost in Roshar was midnight specials.
I mean, I think this is reasonable. I'm up at 8:30 my time. It's not as bad, but back in the day, I mean, I was waking up at 5:36. It was hard, dude. Because my schedule just doesn't allow for me to get up that early. There was a time in my life where I would, but whatever you do at night kind of dictates how early you can get up. And at that time I was doing jiu-jitsu, still very late into the night. So it was getting up at 5 and 6. I would just be I feel like I just fell asleep. But yeah, this is fine. 8:30 is not bad. I could do this all the time, but well, maybe I shouldn't say all the time. Most of the time I get up early enough for this. But yeah, last night was an absolute disaster, but it was pretty fun. I mean, it was nice catching up.
Yeah, we had a great chat.
Yeah. Me and Christian always catch up before the show, and this one was big because we haven't talked in 2 weeks. I mean, we chat in DMs a little bit, but we haven't sat down and had a proper conversation since I went to Ireland. So we had a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, which sounded amazing, by the way, and makes me want to travel around Roshar a little bit. Wonder if Shinovar will be reminiscent of your Ireland adventures.
I wonder, is there an Irish adjacent place in Roshar? I don't think there is. I mean,
Shinovar is probably the closest with its Middle Earth energy. I mean, if Kaladin and Zeth stop at a pub, I'll be absolutely cheering for that.
I would love that personally. But I feel I don't know. Zeth doesn't seem like the type that would have a drink, and neither does Kaladin. Oh,
that's the problem. Yeah. No one.
I don't want to get a beer with either of them.
Syl would be shots straight away.
Well, hey, man. You get put some drinks in the system. Who knows what happens after chapter 10? My God.
Oh, chapter 10, guys. Yeah. Well, it was good to have a week off just to recover from some of the moments in chapter 10. We just, with a sigh and a shake of the head, we took that one and
took it on the chin and moved on. Is what I did.
Look, there's no way about it. The humor in chapter 10 just total miss for you and I.
The humor, the situation. I did not enjoy chapter 10 very much. But
hey,
You know,
You win some, you lose some.
That's right. It's a big book, and there's gonna be chapters I don't care for. This one just happened to be my least favorite chapter in all Stormlight, but that's okay. That's okay. Because I ended up loving chapters like 12 and 13. So
12 was like,
yeah, there was some good stuff.
Bait me with all the nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it all. I'm here for it. Anything.
It also has this like kind of a there's an ominous feeling in the air with a glass goodbye. Like it's so. I guess before we jump into the chapters, I guess we could say, is there any Sanderson updates or anything before we just get into it?
Not really. Like it wasn't a poll this week, but I just threw out like I posted all the covers and I was like, how are we feeling, guys? Like how are we ranking the covers these days? And Rhythm of War is still so popular. Rhythm of War for like the artistic stance seems to be the number one, and then Way of Kings gets a lot of love just because it's the first book and it's so iconic and people have great memories with it.
Yeah.
But honestly, the longer I look at Wind and Truth, the more I like the cover. I'm going to throw away a Christian Kremlin update, which is I just posted a video for the first time in forever on said cover.
Yeah, like literally just now.
Yeah, just now, a few minutes ago. And if you want me to go conspiracy mode on that cover for about 5 minutes, go check out that video on Lost in Discovery. Those spread in that rock, man. What are they doing?
It's a very interesting cover once you start zooming in, and I had missed this. So Christian gets all the props for this one because he's pointing out things that I definitely did not see. So
yeah, go check that out. I got a bit upset though because one of the most juicy looking parts of the artwork turns out just to be Michael Whalen's signature, and then I found out in all the covers. I was like, what is that?
It's a meta thing. Michael Whalen actually exists inside of Roshar. Yeah.
Oh, it probably does,
Yeah, I have inside information,
Yeah, but that's it. That's the update. That's all that's going on.
Perfect.
It's been a bit quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's busy. I think he's probably trying to get everything in order. And this is a big year for him, not just for the book, but also for DragonCon or Dragonsteel, rather.
Yeah.
Pretty big deal. The biggest one they've ever done. Yeah, this is major, and very curious to see what happens post Stormlight 5 for Brandon Sanderson. What we will see. I feel like this kind of gap that we're seeing planned out. I know that he has other projects and stuff, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I feel like this might be giving himself time to get into the TV business. I don't know why, but I get this feeling.
Yeah, just kind of feels like we're gonna that Mistborn cast announcement. Jimmy Stormblessed as Vin. You be Vin and I'll be the wolf, the talking wolf sidekick. I'll do.
I want to be the Lord Ruler. I don't know what you're talking about.
You'd be a great Lord Ruler.
I would.
You'd kill it. You'd be a good Steel Inquisitor. I could see some spikes.
I would love to put some spikes through my eyes after getting into our first chapter, chapter 10.
Top 10 Lost in Roshar moments.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Someone's going to be mad about that. But.
Great segue. No, come on. It's the first time where I feel like we can criticize and not like get completely piled on.
Yeah, we're also not going to spend too much time on it, so we're not going to harp on. But yeah, chapter 10. No. Yeah, we have to talk about each chapter, and chapter 10 is called Book Quartermaster, and I will read this epilogue or the epigraph because it's important.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
yeah.
The second moment had happened already. Sorry, when Szeth himself decided to take upon him this quest, the one that would shape all of our futures. Very interesting. For Winds and Truth. The Knights of Wind and Truth, page 8. So this is a lot of information in 2 sentences.
Hey, do you want me to completely derail our flow? I've got, because I put all the epigraphs together. So what I might do, I'll just read the 4 that we have to do for this ep, and then we've done the epigraphs. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds great.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
So the second, is this the one that you read? The second moment had happened already when Szeth himself decided to take upon him this quest, the one that would shape all of our futures. For while the contest of champions was to happen in the east, a different contest was to happen in Shinovar, and one that the wind swore was equally vital, perhaps more so. I was not with them. I did not know of their quest. Yet I will do my best to recount their story and that of the wind, for they were her champions. Woo!
So this is a massive amount of info. Obviously, we're covering 4 chapters, so we kind of expected there to be a little bit more meat on the bones with these epigraphs. But I think that pretty much confirms it's not Zeth, it's not Cal, and it's not Syl. My guess, I don't know if I've really put an official guess out there of who this is.
Yeah, throw it out.
I think it's Renarin. I think it's Renarin. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm just thinking it's Renarin. We get a Renarin mention from Dalinar, in some of these chapters, and kind of makes you start thinking, kind of reminds you that could see the future. And then I think one of the epigraphs, right? One of them says future. Am I right?
Yeah. There's something about seeing the future. It's like because Jake and I joked about it. It's like I couldn't see the future, but I knew it or something. The wind couldn't see the future, but they knew it. And we're like, what? Can they smell the future? Can they hear the future? What is it?
Yeah, actually.
That's. And Renarin is mentioned in this, like in the Bridge 4 chapter.
Yeah, so Renarin, and then also, I always mess up the name, but Relaine.
Yeah.
Relaine. Those are my 2 guesses. For some reason, I think Sigzil's a pretty safe guess, actually, or even maybe something crazy like Lopin or something. But I think Sigzil could be a pretty solid guess.
You know what?
I don't know.
Maybe it's none of them. Maybe it's a person we don't know yet, and that we'll get to know in this book.
I had been thinking that it was actually someone we haven't met yet in Shinovar.
Yeah.
But they say I was not with, like they weren't there.
Because I was like, Zeth family member, maybe.
I was kind of going towards that. Like they're going to meet someone pretty prominent that's going to explain the history of Shinovar to them. So as the reader, we can understand, and maybe that would be the person. And maybe it still will be. Maybe they die or something crazy. Like they get there and already dead. Though that means that they would have written this. So I don't think it's anyone in Shinovar. How about that? I had been thinking that as I was reading these the last 2 weeks by myself, but I'm going to go with Renarin. I don't know. I just have a feeling.
Okay. I like that guess. I like that. We need like a bingo card of how many characters we guess wrote these.
Oh yeah.
Until we exhaust all of them. The thing is, like, I'm curious to see in day 2 if we keep getting stuff from Wind and Truth, Knights of Wind and Truth, or we get new epigraphs from something else, because that's usually how it goes. Each part has different epigraphs, but we never had days before, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this book in general is kind of catching me off guard in many ways, and one of them happened to be this conversation right here. A woman stood there, arms folded, stark red lipstick on an otherwise pale face, like blood on a corpse. It's some J. Christoph, maybe
Abercrombie's.
Yeah, very interesting. They go in. Kaladin gets the Way of Kings, which is very interesting, and then Kaladin puts a librarian in his place because Sanderson hates librarians for some reason. This is like a running gag. It's actually kind of funny.
Wait, was there another librarian that got in trouble?
Oh, the Sanderson middle grade novels or whatever, the evil librarians.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been a constant thing in his books that librarians are always like kind of like evil people, which it's kind of funny. I mean,
that is a little funny. They, the glasses on the edge of the nose,
Yeah, but also in the reading community, there's no better hero than the librarian, right? Like the librarian is out there fighting the good fight, providing this amazing service, helping people. So anytime someone's a librarian, we're always like, oh, that's not wonderful. It's interesting inversion for Sanderson to go, no.
Well, if you have a go at a Spren, I can see why you might not like this book quartermaster. I did laugh that I did find that funny that he's like the book quartermaster. Jesus, Cal, come on.
Yeah.
He's been on the battlefield for too long. Just to jump back for a sec, dude. Just for a second with this epigraph, right? Like, yeah, there's the question of who does it, but I just want to like really, really telegraph how excited I am to see what the heck this other sort of contest of champions is going to, like, there's a second contest happening in Shinovar.
I don't think it's going to be a battle.
It's like because like there's this whole therapy angle with Kaladin. What will this contest, like, how is it going to play into this? I don't know.
Is he
It's
going
just
to try to
interesting.
heal all of Shinovar? Is that the idea? Like he's going to heal a whole people?
It seems like there's a big problem over there in Shinovar.
Yeah.
It's just funny. He's so like, yeah, he's probably like the most. Well, I don't know. I find this whole like Cal the therapist angle very interesting because we have a limited amount of point of views here, and it seems, at least to us, that Cal is at the forefront of mental health on Roshar.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
he's fully across it, but I sometimes wonder if is it just Kaladin, because it's kind of reminded me of like later in the chapters where Shallan's like, man, you and I started this. It's me and you, we were
Mhm.
the first. And he's like, yeah, but there was Lift and Yasna. I'm like, are there other therapists? Or is it just Cal just being like,
I
better
think
yourself?
I think it's just Cal at this point, but
Okay.
that most likely will change after Kaladin becomes Honor or dies or whatever happens to him in
We.
the book. I think he'll leave a pretty big legacy, and
Mm.
who knows, maybe whatever happens in Shinovar is actually what catapults that, and then they become a people of healing and
Oh, yeah.
of connection. They've been isolated for so long that I wonder if that's kind of like the big flip there, is that Cal gets them to experience the world again and they go out and kind of help.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm almost want to just give up trying to predict this book because each chapter it's like, no, he's just saying, no, it's not about that. It's actually about Charles, apparently.
Oh man, yeah.
So look, I want to point out all the good stuff in chapter 10 first, just
Let's
so we
do
can
it.
start with the constructive criticism sandwich, start with the positives, right? um Very curious that Syl's gone out of her way to give Kaladin a copy of the Way of Kings. To be honest, I've been thinking about the Way of Kings a lot in like the context of Stormlight, because remember, man, we talked about like Gavilar's copy of the Way of Kings,
Yeah.
and like Dalinar's always like, man, the words seem to like come off the page and speak to me. Like it seemed like a bit more than just like some book. Um, and I sometimes wonder if that was the key to Dalinar actually getting the visions in the first place, like this specific copy of the Way of
Mhm.
Kings that Gavilar had. So I'm like, okay, why is she giving this to Cal? Like that book is all about leading a people. Like that's the whole point of that book.
Mhm.
Um, so what does Syl know that we don't? That's cool. There's also like a quick line that there's typing has been invented on Roshar. Like they see the text being like separated. They're like, oh, it's from typing script. That's just been recently invented. I'm like, cool. We got typewriters. That's fun.
Yeah, that's neat.
Um, and then when Syl, picks up the pen and is able to write one singular letter, and the librarian's like, oh, you're a 4-year-old. But Cal then keeps that piece of paper, and I just kind of noted like high chance of that being important later. I'm
Mm.
guessing.
Yeah.
Um, and then we'll be like, oh, that's why we had chapter 10. That's where the importance lies.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and also there's probably some sort of dynamic between Cal and Syl that probably will pay off later. I don't I don't know about this Way of Kings thing. I think it's significant. I don't think it's just like, hey, look, the Way of Kings, and day one is centered around a lot of Way of Kings reminiscence and nostalgia. It maybe, is this going to be a theme, and then we'll get like a Words of Radiance type chapter? You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that will happen.
Like a little tour with the
Yeah.
past.
But where my brain's been going, and this is kind of just a broader thing, it kind of connects to what you were talking about, is like Cal is going to this place of people who are very different from him. And I think that leading men is a very important, like you're leading people. Okay, well, he's going to this population that's been pretty much isolated, right, from the rest of Roshar. They kind of stick to themselves. And there's also been another thing that's been going around, and that is the lost shard blades and how people forgot about them.
Yeah.
And now we're hearing about this historian that writes the Knights of Wind and Truth. And who are the Knights of Wind and Truth? Well, what if it's the people of Shinovar?
Ooh.
And we're building in. So my point is, I think we're building into possibly a Here Comes the Cavalry moment at the end of the book,
Oh, I
where
see.
the knights Shinovar, and the Knights of Win and Truth come and save
Mm.
the day. And it might not, and maybe it's in a way that we're not expecting. Like maybe they don't come clashing with the lost shard blades and just start murdering everyone. Like maybe that's not exactly what happens, but I feel as if Kaladin will be not coming back alone.
I see. Yeah.
So I still feel as if Kaladin's going to be involved in the like end game. Maybe not in the contest from the get go, but I just feel like he has to be involved somehow. Maybe I'm wrong.
Of
Maybe
course. I think surely he will be. But it's just a big question of how that's going to look. I reread the Shinovar chapter from the Way of Kings recently, and I'm just like, man, it's we know so little, and you know they have this structure that farmers are the most respected people, and
it's gonna be different, man.
It's just gonna be like, what are we going to encounter there? And Seth hasn't been there since he was like exiled. It's like, what's his experience going to be?
What day do you think we'll get to Shinovar?
Well, oh man, it all depends on part 2, right? Is he gonna like, because this was like, well, he'll probably do day 2, but is it gonna be like Dalinar and I don't know, Lift or something? You know, 2 people that we're not gonna your face, but we're not gonna like see from Cal. But I would say as soon as we get back to Cal, it's gonna be like, bam, Shinovar. We're here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess we could have a full day of just no Kaladin. It just feels weird not to do it because I think Szeth and him are such a focal point, and there's no way the next time we see them they're in Shinovar, right? I would be disappointed, honestly, because I like traveling in fantasy books, and me and you've been wanting to travel around Roshar for a minute. Like this is our opportunity, dude.
Yeah,
to go on a road trip.
Yeah, but the thing was, like, we can teleport and stuff, so it's like,
yeah, that does sometimes. And this is not a criticism, folks, but this is just me like wondering at a different universe what it'd be like. Sometimes I wonder if we unlocked fast travel like too quickly in the series. You know what I mean? I felt this way about Wheel of Time, actually. Like Wheel of Time, I really love. It's not my favorite series by any means, but like what I did love about it was the settings, like Camelin and stuff. Like I really just loved seeing these new places. Even like Shadow Morgoth was cool, but then you have the ways in Wheel of Time, and I feel like we were in the ways a lot, and kind of no, let's go to this other location we had before, and I always was like, man, I kind of miss like rolling around with the Tinkers with Perrin like that. I don't know. I'm a weirdo. I really like the down moments in series, and
the pub crawl of Eye of the World was cozy.
Yeah, a lot of people hate on that. I actually loved it. Like them, Rand going and playing instruments or whatever. So my point is like I kind of want to see that with Szeth and Kaladin. I kind of want to.
Feels like there's no time somehow.
There's a lot of pages in this book, though, man.
There is a lot of pages, and it's just got that ever expanding cast of characters. The thing with Sanderson, though, he is not afraid to Rock. He's like, I'm off to go somewhere. And then we just never heard from Rock again because he knew like it would just bloat the book. So I wonder if that's going to happen to a few other people. But it kind of feels like everyone he said goodbye to coming up, it's like, well, maybe we won't see them for quite some time.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, you get that feeling. And I have feelings about this that we can get to. I mean, let's just talk about the things, that we didn't like in chapter 10 and move on because I don't want to harp on it.
I mean, it just wasn't funny. Like we just didn't find it funny. It was a bit awkward.
I did not find the humor necessarily funny. And Sanderson's a hit or miss with me. Like most things, like in any walk of humor, is like you're gonna like it or not like it. There is some stuff I did like. Was the Adolin horse stuff in these chapters, or is
it was just before this?
All right, so I wasn't on here, so I had to read all these in like one go, so whatever. But the Adolin horse stuff was hilarious. I actually laughed out loud. So just so someone's like, you just hate Sanderson's humor, like, no, not all the time. It just sometimes I do. I just. I don't know. This felt a little out of place to me. I think it's in line with like the silliness of Sanderson's humor and like not taking it too serious or whatever. But I didn't really like it. I don't know if I like the idea of like Syl and Cal possibly.
I don't know if they're if he's going for a Silladin kind of.
I don't think he is.
Story. I think she's just being cheeky.
I agree with you.
Actually. And it just kind of went on too long, and like we just didn't find it that funny.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
And that's fine. I by the way, so a lot of people online, like I saw the backlash to this online before I read it, and people were saying, "Oh, this is confirmed Sylvain," and some people were excited, some people said they hated it. But when I read it twice, and I did not. I don't think it's going that way, and I will go on record to say I hope it doesn't go that way. I don't really want that to. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me personally. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he would do it and it would be amazing. You know, I'm not willing to judge something until it happens, but just my gut feeling, I wouldn't love it. And then we get into this like Cal, you know, putting the person in their place.
Oh yeah, this part. I forgot about this part. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
His rant about his like quick therapy session with the librarian. I don't know. Like I've been trying to like, you know, it's always obviously we both love this series and it's a podcast about this series. So I always get kind of nervous bringing up critiques, but there was something about this scene that I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling this. But I'm having trouble articulating why, because part of me is like, in the real world, if you said that to someone, they'd just tell you to off and move on with their life, you know. But is it because this world doesn't have therapy yet that they're like, oh, I've never thought of it that way?
I think Calvin's also really respected. Like, you know, people know, right? So maybe that has something to do with it. I mean, simply for me, like it did not move me. It didn't seem compelling to me, and just a bit heavy-handed. So I was glad to move on. And then in chapter 11, we get some very interesting stuff. You've already read the epigraph, but music spren, huh?
Oh man.
This strikes me because there seems to be like a lot more music coming out in Stormlight.
Rhythms, music, all the good stuff.
Like there's just a lot there. And Shallan, in my opinion, this day one section has been driving most of the interest for me.
100%.
Which is ironic because like I'm not the biggest fan of like the radiant thing popping up. It's not my favorite thing in the world. Sometimes it feels a little bit taxing, but like I like Kaladin more as a character, but I think the Shallan parts have more like seeds being sown that I'm very interested in. So, we can move into chapter 11, which I think is a pretty good chapter.
Yeah, chapter 11, man. Let's get into it. Shallan. There's like looking at my notes. There are like twice to three times the amount of dot points in this chapter with the music spread. So we did know about music spread, I think, with the Rashadium, but I was kind of saying this to Jake last time. Like, it just seems like Gallant is like, finally, this is where I should be. Like, I get the sense like the Rashadium were the top dogs of Shadesmar for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And then I started to wonder, how old is this bloody horse? It kind of felt like he's like, yeah, I'm at the Oath Gates. I used to be here and I'm flying. Like, he's just like, yeah, I'm back. You know, he's kind of got like this great energy about him. And then obviously that music spren that kind of lingered with Adolin was his old Rashadium's spren, Shoreblood, who's like, hey man, I remember you. But I suppose like Adolin's like, there's too much going on for him to like even begin to process that. Like the pace of these Shallan chapters and the amount that's happening is like absolutely blistering. But I suppose like the biggest thing is like how her light weavings are like physical now, or have been even in the past, and we just didn't realize it, but they're like physically concrete.
Yeah, that was for me kind of a massive deal, dude. It kind of calls into question a whole bunch of stuff that we've read. You know, so this is where like it really starts clicking in my head that things are off, like majorly off with Shallan in her past. Shallan, Adolin said, cradling her. Are you real? She asked. What? Of course I am. I created Radiant, Shallan whispered. I could have created you. Maybe that's why you're so wonderful. I said reality could be what I imagine it to be, but I don't actually want that. That would be terrifying. What?
Yeah. She's like, I take back the catchphrase. It's too scary.
Bro, this is like,
oh man.
I mean, this is huge, dude. This is not a simple throwaway line. This is reality bending. And then we have to start to wonder, you know, are things that we know about Shallan real?
God, right? Yeah. What was real? Was that Shallan, or was that like a light weaving of Shallan? You know, that did all these things. Oh man, how would a retcon play? It's like, didn't really kill them. It was my twin. It was my twin, I promise.
Like, yeah, what if like a light weave twin of her killed her mom? You know what I mean? And there's so many
that kind of
things.
stuff. Or like maybe we read a perspective from one and we never realized.
I think it could be compelling. I think it would be cool. My gut reaction is I want Shallan to have killed her mom, which sounds weird. Like I admit that sounds pretty weird out loud, but for the reason of is like it makes Shallan such an interesting character because we know of what we know of Shallan. I don't think she would just do that.
Yeah. You know, well, look, like if she's made a light weaving that did it, it's still her, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, if we're going to take this to court.
Yeah, probably.
Like, we're
in the realm of circumstantial evidence, Christian. You can do a civil suit, but you're not gonna get a criminal prosecution from this. I don't know, dude. This is pretty major. And when I was reading through I like reading through the what is this called Reactor Mag comments. I felt like it was almost undersold how big of a deal this was.
Yeah,
like,
this is
like,
huge.
oh, bending reality, neat. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean neat?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many huge things in this chapter. So many. But yeah, that is like we could go crazy with the theories. And I'm on the lookout. Let's just put it that way. I'm looking out. Who's real? Who's not real? Like honestly, having Chandra was enough. But now we know that Shallan could just like.
Well, it's not just that though. It's not just that because and I'm going to ask you again because I'm stupid. The beads, we find out that the creation sprint can like change form. Is that in this chapter or in the future chapter?
Well, we can whatever.
Because I'm going to bring it up.
It's fine.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to bring it up now. When I was hearing that and it said that they could change and look like anything, I immediately thought, okay, Shallan's light weaving thing. That's interesting that these are both kind of close together. But also, are the creation spren like? Are they somehow connected to Chandra?
Well, okay. Well, this is what maybe there's a similar like Cosmere.
Yeah, I immediately made that cause miracle as well. I'm gonna call miracle link. Yeah, I just coined the new phrase.
Jimmy's making cosmerical links.
You never thought you'd see the day when Jimmy thick blessed would
thick blessed
in Ireland. They kept calling me a tick-headed Yankee. That's what they kept calling me. A thick-headed Yankee.
That's just about right, isn't it?
And they weren't talking about my muscles, Christian. I'm talking about my big head. Rude.
Oh, it's just that giga brain you've got working.
That's that. Yeah, it's all firing on all cylinders this morning.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, connected to Chandra, that could be like an interesting cosmerical mathematical
thing. Chandra that I was like, okay.
Okay. Well, to me, I'm just like, oh, it's just like the make, like how Cal has his wind armor spren, her armor spren from creation spren. But I'm going to go down the rabbit hole because I've been waiting for this theory to drop this one in this ep. And we're skipping way ahead, but I'm going to throw it in there, dude. Okay. Hear me out. Okay. So, when Shallan picks up one of them and she's like feeling what they represent, it says, Shallan knelt and picked one up, getting the impression of a rooftop. No, a domed cavern. No, a long thin room. No, a goblet, a table. It was changing so quickly. And I know I'm so wrong here, but my tinfoil brain was like, doesn't this sound like the scene in The Way of Kings when she was like drawing the cryptics and soulcast for the first time? She like is in like the dome of Kharbranth down a long hallway, then goes to the goblet, which is on a table, which
that's exactly what it is. Yes.
And I was like, are these like replaying that scene? Or like, what is that about? I was like, is that intentional, or is this meant to be like generic objects?
Well, and also remember this, we got this prologue, and with Yasna, there was people watching her. Remember, like she felt like there were like people. Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I feel like there's been something else looming in this series that we're not completely sure of yet.
Maybe, yeah.
And this is a weird thing. Like, what if there was a reason why she was able to soul cast outside of just what we know? I don't know. This is where I lose my mind because
I got a few
there's so many things to remember about this.
Yeah, there's a lot.
and it's no surprise that it's a full-time job to be a cosmerical expert.
Absolutely.
Instead of saying Cosmere, I'm just going to keep saying Cosmerical because I think it's funny. But yeah, very, very, very.
How about we just talk about Shallan for now? Like we'll do both Shallan chapters, right? Okay, because I got some thoughts about this. Speaking of her armor spren, right? They like form on her. Okay, so here's my question: did she just get these armor spren, or have they been around and they've just returned? Like Testament, right? This is my question.
Very possible.
Because you know how they tried to fit on her and like it's squeezing her and it's bumping into her head, it's not working quite right. I'm like, are they still trying to fit a child and they don't realize Shallan's grown up?
Oh my God.
Right?
No, you're on. Dude, you're on. You got me. I'm sold. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm all in. Dude, absolutely. So here's the thing. Spren, we got to stop thinking about Spren for what we know and start being able to speculate on them, because we know based on these epigraphs that Spren are a rarity in the time that this book is being written.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I was thinking Christian, and I am going to connect this back to my stupid Kandra thing.
Yeah, good for it.
Because Sanderson said there's Kandra on Stormlight, but he didn't say at what point in Stormlight. Right. And if these Spren that have flipped, by the way, now seem to have like free will and are like, maybe we'll let you pass through the gate, maybe we won't. These Spren are going to become physical inhabitants, I think, and then they can do whatever they want. So, like, is it possible that Kandra spawned from Spren long ago? Like, did this happen before? Like, is this not the first time this has happened? Like this awakening and this inverse of Spren? Is it possible that Kandra spawned from Creation Spren like a long time ago?
Oh man, I can't even begin to comprehend.
It's like ancient aliens of the Cosmere. Like I get it, but like just let me have my moment here, okay? As you make like beautiful sense and know everything, I'm just having fun.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite, Jimmy too. Okay, so Creation Sprints spawned Kandra.
I think Kandra are from Creation Spren who have manifested in the physical realm.
Oh, keep going, bro.
And have free will and agency, and that this is all, time's a flat circle, bro. No, I don't know.
You told me.
Is Creation Spren and Kandra connected? And if they're not, I will actually.
You know, I thought you were going the Warbreaker route, because she's like, oh, now it's multicolored. Does that mean? And then the sentence cuts off. I'm like, are we doing a Warbreaker thing?
I did catch on to that and was like, okay, well, make a note of this. This is something. Like this is obviously something. If you get interrupted in the middle of exposition,
that's when you know.
Yeah.
That's when you know.
I just gotta give B Sando some credit though. You know, I know that we weren't big on chapter 10, but I gotta tell you, like when you read this stuff and you realize how many mysteries he's put in, man. Like the layers of Stormlight specifically. You know, he does this in all of his books, but in Stormlight specifically, it is overwhelming the amount of mysteries we have to solve. And it's just a blast trying to figure them out, at least whenever you have someone else to bounce ideas off of.
Oh, 100%.
I get way more fired up when we talk about this stuff. Like I read that, I was like, okay, fun. But like as you're talking and then my brain gets going and starts going off in terrible directions, it's just a lot of fun to have a community around these books, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I started off, trying to find out who the Gravedigger was in Feast for Crows. Is it Feast for Crows?
Yeah.
And it's like that's what we do here. You know?
Yeah, that's
every episode's like, who's the Gravedigger? You know?
Yeah, dude.
That's a big part of why I love Stormlight.
Yeah.
So it could be that she was already the fourth ideal as a child, and the armor spren's like, Shallan, we're back, cool, and then they kind of figure it out. That's the impression I got, because this whole fourth ideal thing was so casual. I
agree. And it's like, first off, cool scene.
Yeah.
Really cool scene.
Yeah.
But there's something about it that doesn't feel congruent with the other ideals being sworn.
100%.
It's a remembrance rather than an achievement.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I remember. I'm fourth ideal. That's right. All right.
It does feel like that. Like she's buried it away or something, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. This book is going to be so wild. The Spren are rare. The heralds are gone. It said.
Oh, when it said that was crazy.
Oh, when it said that, I was like, whoa.
I was like, excuse me.
It also doesn't make any sense because the heralds aren't they supposed to be the focus of the back five?
Yeah. They are.
What the heck?
Yeah. That's the best thing. Speaking of like heralds and stuff, so we know that like the humans came from Ashen. Their
Allegedly.
original, allegedly, their original planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Including the heralds who were born there too. And earlier in the Shallan chapters, we see Bam, who like pops her singer head through the beads and
Mm-hmm.
does her villain thing. She goes, "I will send you back to the flames from whence you came." And I was like, she's talking about Ashen because that's the planet that's on fire now. So she's like, I'll send you back there.
What if they do? Dude, what if Stormlight second half takes place on Ashen?
That would be so cool.
That would ruin the podcast.
Oh no, it would. No, I take it back. It's a terrible idea.
That's really funny.
Sanderson.
There will be a chance that we will get a scene on Ashen at some point in the series, actually.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Wow.
I would love that.
Great.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. But interesting that for me, I was like, how does she? So she knows about Ashen, I suppose, if I'm reading this correctly. So how did? Yeah, I guess these unmade have been around a long time, so I guess they would know about that stuff. Cool little tidbits. I'm gonna chuck in a few tidbits now that I'm looking at my notes. Like nothing to harp on too much about, but this guy, this mad lad, Abidi the Monarch, who's like attacking and stuff. One hit from Adolin and he's out of there. He gets hit by Adolin once he flies away, which I was like, all right, I see you, Adolin. I see that skill. Then Dre has this Fabriel who's pointing in the direction of the Grand Knell, source of the current, the death of a god. What the heck are you on about, mate? What is that? Like, we have heard like none of these words together in Stormlight ever. So I'm guessing like this may have been the source of like where honor like was splintered, and like this Fabriel points in that direction. I'm guessing. The
and
source
and we've also speculated the Shattered Plains is where.
Yeah, we speculated that too. So I don't know what the heck that is. I was just like, I don't even know. I can't make anything of that except cool. That's probably important. Then we had the corrupted Oathgates brand who are like, anyone could pass. We're chill now. Like the baddies can pass, the good guys can pass. We don't care. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Kind of like the Spren getting free will, and they call them oppressors and stuff. And it's like,
yeah, like them getting corrupted. Like corrupted didn't seem like the right word, but like they were kind of vibing. They seemed pretty happy about it. They're like,
yeah, and it's interesting because I think at that moment we're supposed to be like, no, help Shallan, but I was kind of like, hey, good for you guys.
Yeah, man, you decide. You make some choices.
Why not? It's your life.
Hey, what a boring life, just standing there waiting for someone to pass. Like, yeah. I suppose like that's the main thing for Shallan. We can touch on her a little bit when her and Cal cross paths soon. But do you want to jump to that the glorious chapter 12 of like Cal and the Bridge 4 crew saying their goodbyes?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that this is one of those times where it felt as if the reread for Way of Kings that we've did over the past year really paid off, huh?
Perfect timing, hey.
Mm-hmm.
It was like so many callbacks to it in this very chapter. It just felt like a little victory lap. And it's so fresh in my mind still, especially when he's like, Sigil, remember you were like my biggest detractor at first. I'm like, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and he thinks about Moash as well, and then we
get that was cold, man. That was cold. He's like, I hope that I want Tef to spit on him in the afterlife. I'm like, oh,
there is a feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, and I'm open to other interpretations, but do you feel like this is setting up an angle where Kaladin has to forgive Moash? Like with the whole therapist angle and stuff, like instead of killing Moash, like the payoff for Kaladin's arc would be that he actually forgives Moash.
That's so like that is such a challenge.
That would be a powerful moment
for this character.
That would be a powerful moment, dude.
I think so too.
you know, a lot of people talk about Malazan Book of the Fallen, big epic 10-book series. And some of the biggest moments in that series are when people take the compassionate route. And
Mm.
and it might sound cheesy at first, but those moments gave me goosebumps just as much as some of the big battle lasers and fireballs and dragons, amazing scenes. So I'm open to the idea of some sort of, I don't even know if I call it a redemption arc, but a forgiveness arc,
To be
possibly. That
honest,
would
like
be
that's kind
awesome.
of that's the spirit of Stormlight, isn't it? Everyone's
I think so.
being
Yeah.
forgiven and understanding each other better.
Hmm.
And what more of a challenge than to make it Moash, who's
Yeah,
done?
it would be a big thing. I mean, I think the generic angle would be Kaladin avenges the deaths, and therefore it gives death to Moash, and we all go, yeah, but I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I could cheer for Cal killing him. It just feels too tragic, you know.
Well, it would be tragic, which is also something that we're drawn to as readers and viewers or
Mm.
whatever. Like tragedy, I mean, Shakespeare does it very well. So I'm up for either. But as I read this, dude, I did not get the sense of this big,
Mm.
this big showdown where Kaladin shoves a spear through Moash's heart. Or
We could do
maybe,
both,
yeah, maybe I don't.
where it's like he forgives him, and by
But
doing
also
so, like
has to kill him.
sacrifices himself, like
Mm,
or like Moash thereby kills Kaladin or something.
could you imagine?
Oh, that would be great. Can you imagine the Moash hate if he took it that far?
Oof.
Maybe he's already killed Harold.
Hey, keep your eyes on this. I'm very
Mm.
curious to see. I think this does get resolved book 5. I think the Moash Kaladin thing does get resolved book 5. I would be shocked if it didn't. But I've been wrong before. So
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm so curious to see like what gets wrapped up this book, because I can't really gauge it just yet. Because
Mhm.
part of me is like, oh, everything we know so far will get wrapped up, and it's like a new series after this. But I'm like, surely not, because it's not really been packaged like that until now. Like this split has never felt so prominent.
Mhm.
Before I was like, oh, it'll be a few years, be fine. But now like 10 years.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
it's just really finishing. So yeah, lots of nice moments with Relaine,
Kind,
with
kind of an
go
interesting setting at the beginning, don't you think? I,
with the party. So what you're talking about?
Kaladin and Syl flew high above Erathira, where he, pack on his back, ready to go, could face to the west towards the setting sun. And we've talked a lot about the sun going down and the sun going away in previous episodes in the reread. And I just
Yeah.
thought, I don't know, I thought this was kind of interesting that the sun is setting. Now, is it just to give some mood lighting to a sad farewell where the Bridge 4 is setting over the horizon and they're going to different places?
Mm,
Probably more symbolic for that, but I don't know. The sun going
I
down.
like what you're saying. Like, okay, yeah, part of me is like, oh, theory, why? But yeah, it's
It's
more
not
like
necessarily a theory as it is like a nod. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like kind of
gotcha.
like getting us ready for the sun maybe to never come back up. Who knows?
Ooh,
Who knows?
yeah, we're saying goodbye and starting going into the unknown for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, so yeah, we've got Relaine's little party. I really like that the conversation between him and Cal, and how Cal's thanked him for staying with them, and how Relaine's like, damn, like they accept me but not my people. Like this is good stuff. I love that aspect of Stormlight. I
Mm-hmm.
love the listeners and hearing from their perspective. Um, and then we get like, oh my god, the part that got me was the tattoo, man. When he finally got the tattoo. Oh,
Yeah.
damn, so good. So good.
Yeah.
So much build up.
It's been a long journey to this. It's been over 10 years to this point. What, 11, 12 years?
Yeah, man, I felt that moment because like that was this line. It says, I started this 2 years ago in an effort to get a handful of sorry men to look up for a change. Little did I know they'd end up taking the skies. And they all do their salute, and he starts crying. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah, it's
I feel it.
very good. I loved it. I thought it was a good payoff for this moment.
Oh,
I think we need to address this though, and I need your opinion.
okay.
It is so heavy-handed that these are final goodbyes and that we're never going to have these connections again, along with the Shallan and Adolin who will drink after. So, do you think this is so on the nose because he's not coming back? Or do you think that Sanderson's trying to set us up and then he's going to actually, like, we'll actually one day see him, Shallan, and Adolin get drinks and he'll be back with Bridge 4? Like, what do you think?
I think it's just on the nose and it's going to be a long time. Yeah, okay. I don't think he's going to subvert this one. I think it's like, yeah.
So you think these are truly maybe final goodbyes?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Actually, what about you?
I'm kind of split, dude. I don't know. Okay. I how about this? I don't think that the version of Kaladin we're seeing right here will ever be back with Bridge 4, Shallan, or Adolin. He will be around in a different way, whether that's as a shard or something else. Because I thought it was really interesting. I mean, let's be honest, like a lot of the honor Kaladin becomes honor thing, it's kind of on the nose now. Like I feel like Brandon's like not pulling punches. Like it's fairly obvious. There's a part where Soul's like he has a part of a god in him or something like that. And Adolin later on says honor lives in all of us, like in here.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking if Kaladin becomes honor, then maybe Shallan and Adolin have a drink and they're like, I wish Cal could be here. And like, well, he is. He's inside of us. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like that it ties back to this. So I think this is truly as it exists today, as Kaladin exists today, is the final goodbye. And I am pretty much on the train of Kaladin becoming honor. Like I'm.
Oh man. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, I mean, we already were. Like we've talked about it in length. You know, we bounced around the Lyran theory, which was sick. But Kaladin, it just seems so obvious at this point.
Well, he's going to be some sort of therapy god guru dude, you know?
Yeah.
It's going to happen. I just want to, the levitating bearded. Remember how we saw like in the Way of Kings, right? We saw in the artwork of the codes, we saw like the guy clapping and like stopping the shard blade, but then there's like one guy in the yoga pose floating.
Dude.
That's Kaladin. That's what he's going to be.
You think he's going to be the yoga guy? Dude?
He's going to be the yoga guy. Just be like, better yourself. Don't take out your trauma on poor people at the library. You know?
Hey, a fun part of this, and this is where me and you kind of split a little bit, but Nightblood, huh? Nightblood.
Hey, I laughed. I actually laughed out loud, and Jimmy's like, that wasn't funny. And I said, for me, it was. Usually I don't laugh at the pancake stuff, but when I was just so in the chapter, man, these are once a week. I'm like pouring like my eyes over every word. Like, what is this? What's going on?
Yeah.
And Seth says, I hunger for something I cannot describe. And then it just says pancakes. And I forgot Nightblood was there, and it just made me laugh because I was so not ready for this.
It's a hard comparison to Zeth's iron personality, and then you get that. You know, it's kind of absurd that the sword would be the humor of the two. I think it's really well placed humor, by the way. I'm not saying it shouldn't be like it's. You're right. That's exactly why it's there, and it's actually a really good way to do it. I just didn't laugh, but like that doesn't mean it's bad or anything. It just didn't.
Even Kaladin cracked a smile. He cracked a smile on that one.
He did.
He's like, yeah, we got a road trip. We got a road trip now.
Buddy cop road trip. It's gonna be wild,
dude. Syl and Nightblood, I want to hear them chat. Like, actually, no, I actually don't want to hear them chat. Actually,
I don't know if I want to hear Syl talk again.
please, not again. No, it's okay. She just, she had a moment. All right, but then these two, these characters converge, and we get like Adolin, Kaladin, and Shallan, who will have drinks in 15 million years from now, apparently. I don't know, man. I get bad feelings, like you said. It's going to be different. Yeah. I liked Kaladin and Adolin, like, thinking back to the fighting pit. Like, bro, remember that? Honor is dead. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of stable, bro. Yeah.
It's pretty cool, man. Then he hugs him longer than Shallan. I'm like, oh, yeah. You boys
the bromance is real.
The bromance is still alive, man.
A little bit call back to the love triangle bit where Kaladin's like, turned out. I was like, okay, I kind of like that. I thought that was a good nod. There is something I wanted to talk about, and this is away from the Kaladin Bridge 4 stuff, but we're kind of just combining these chapters right now.
Yeah.
But we have this Spren that turn away. I shouldn't say turn away, but kind of talk back to Shallan, right? And they
That's
have
his
this
friend.
line, and I thought of somebody else when I read this line. It said, "We become something else, not odium, not honor, free." There's someone else that kind of wants to get out of this two-party system, and that would be Renarin and Venli, right? Like they kind of wanted to go off on their own and do their own commune or whatever, if I'm remembering correctly. Is that right?
Oh, I remember I vaguely remember this plot line, like right at the end of Rhythm of
Rhythm of
War. Is
War,
that what
yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah, they're kind of like,
Venli,
well, what if we don't want any of that? We just want to be free. And I think it was Venli and Renarin. I think Renarin was.
or Relaine? Was it Relaine? Is that who you're thinking of?
It might have been,
Or
but
I don't know, but
Venli was there.
yeah, I vaguely remember this plot line. Yeah.
I thought this was interesting because now you have a group of Spren who are also saying, I don't want to go with this two-party system. I want to go and be free. I want to be I want to be a libertarian, essentially. And I'm like, okay, are these Spren going to have something to do with the group of physical realm beings that are wanting to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
are
like
they
there's a
forming a
room.
third party here? Is that what's
That
happening?
could be cool. Yeah, I
Is
never really thought of it that way. I just thought I didn't even know. Like, I'm like, can they even move from their post? But yeah, I don't know.
well,
That
the
could be
fact that
cool.
Spren are rare tells us that something is massively going to change with them.
Like you keep saying that. Are you saying like
There was an epigraph at some point in these chapters where they said like, it was basically saying as rare as Spren are, like when now that we know that they're rare. I'm pretty sure it's in the previous chapters when I was not here.
okay. Yeah, I've got a vague memory. It's like something about because I remember them saying like heralds.
Yeah, it was like heralds and Spren being like the heralds are gone and the Spren
It says,
are rare.
though now that the wind and the heralds have vanished. Oh man, that's bad. That is so bad.
Here we go. I got it. It's Lost Blades. It says, however, Wind did not think like a person does. This should not surprise anyone who has familiarity with a Spren, though such things are less common now than they once were.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's so bad.
So
That is
yeah,
so
so
bad.
Spren are less common than they once were, and that tells you, I think, that there's gonna be some Spren that, and I don't
Leave
know,
or something.
leave or become physical being. I mean, I think Syl is becoming more real, you know, quote unquote real. So I think we're kind of heading this way. So I'm just wondering if those Spren will somehow join, you know, Venli and her commune or whatever she's doing over there.
You make a really interesting point.
I'm just trying to connect things, you know. I'm trying to, because it does have to come together at some point.
Yeah, it's like there's just so many threads. You're like, what should I connect? And naturally, some things you're like, I don't know. Like, and that's me with those Spren. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, you're right.
I mean, there's a lot to keep track of, but I don't know. I just thought of Venli kind of walking away at Rhythm of War and being like, okay, she wants to be free. They just want to be free and live their lives.
Yeah, God, man, I kind of regret not. I need to do a Rhythm of War refresher, maybe.
Honest to God, like I actually considered rereading it before. I don't think I have the time. It's
a lot, isn't it?
And I would hate to reread Rhythm of War and end up feeling burnout. You know what I mean? I don't want to rush it or anything. But Rhythm of War is the book that I think I missed the most in. And dude, Oathbringer, outside of the flashbacks, I have a lot of trouble remembering a lot of Oathbringer. Like, it's been a long time for me. So, but Rhythm of War, easily the book that I remember the least from, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for me, it's somewhere between those two books. Like, probably Rhythm of War, actually. I don't know. There's something about
it.
There's a lot. Just because it was also in one location, it's kind of like hard to segment it in my mind.
Maybe I'll start Rhythm of War reread and I'll just see if I can like just see how it goes. If I don't finish it, I don't finish it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like Venli matters. I feel like Venli matters a ton. Venli could be the one writing the Knights of Wind and Truth.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be a listener, right?
Yeah, why not? If anything, it gives more Eshonai energy, but we know that's not possible.
Well, she's living
because of the whole scholarly act.
Well, she's living. I don't think chasm fiends have thumbs, so I don't think that they could write.
It's a gremlin.
Oh, it's a gremlin. Gremlins have thumbs?
They've just like stepped in some ink and they're scuttling around the page.
Scuttling. They're scuttling scribes.
That's what it's going to happen. Kaladin's going to turn into a gremlin and he'll just be having a beer with Adolin and Shallan.
Now
The
that
image of that, it just makes me so happy. A little Kremling sitting with them, like, man, we've been through a lot, you know.
now that I could get behind. Let's go,
Guys, remember when I wrote about you on the back of the books? Oh, that was wild. And then look, Cal sheds some. He tears up. He's like, "Man, who ever thought I'd tear up over some light eyes?" I don't know, man. I feel really good for Kaladin, which makes me feel bloody terrified. like that's great. He's in a good place. Like, look at him go, proud. But yeah, it's just gonna be rough, isn't it? I think this is maybe, you know, it was filled with so much humor this first day, and we were both a bit like, "Oh man, I don't know, it might go away quickly."
Yeah, I'm kind of holding back my feelings for the how much humor there was, because I think that it's probably trying to try to balance out how heavy the rest of the book is going to be. But I think that's, like, for instance, like the pancake thing, I think maybe possibly I would have found it more humorous had I not felt like there was so much humor.
Yeah, that's right.
I felt like the secret projects were full of humor, and I know Sanderson's always done humor, like Era 2 and stuff, but it feels like it's becoming a lot more prominent in his writing. I kind of compared a little bit to like Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide, and which is fine. You know, it's a totally acceptable thing to do. But I did find that day one had a lot of humor. But we'll have to see if that trend continues. I'm curious.
Yeah, me too. I did see a good post about, like, you and I both commented about the writing feeling a little different, and someone had a very balanced way of like breaking down why it's different. And the thing that stuck with me is that, like, the character's voice slips into the narration a lot more now than it did back in the original books. Like, there's like a lot of ahs and ums in the actual just third person narration now, which didn't used to exist anymore, which creates like a different feel.
Oh,
And
definitely. Yeah. I noticed this in Rhythm of War, though. I noticed it with some of the Navani stuff. Yeah. Because like I was so used to like a third person narration where it was kind of like agnostic of the POV. Yeah. Like, you're close, but it's also giving you like some exposition, which is not uncommon in fantasy. But I noticed it a little bit in Rhythm of War, and I remember feeling like it would take me out a little bit. Like, I'd be like, wait, what? Who is telling this? Like, this is kind of weird. Not necessarily a bad thing or anything. It's just different.
It's just different. Yeah. And I think I've just read so much more now that I like can pick up on that suddenly. Whereas before I was just like, give me the story. What happens? Like, I was not concerned at all with like how it was written. I couldn't care less. And now I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Just because we're like poring over it, like looking at
me and you are doing like very close reads of it as much as we can. I will say this, folks. I have found it a little bit harder to focus when I'm reading these things because we have to read them on a website, and I don't like reading off my computer at all. Like, I actively dislike it, and I don't really want to do the audiobook because like I don't necessarily want to listen to it. I want to read it. I feel like I retain and am able to digest things a little bit more whenever I have it in my own voice in my head than hearing someone else tell the story. So I feel like I've been missing some stuff, and a lot of it has to do with just not being able to focus on my computer screen. So I wish these were released like on Kindle or something. I'm sure there's a way to load them. Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to copy paste them into an EPUB file and put them on, but it's just a lot of work to get done. So I can't wait till the book's actually in my hands. And I was thinking about that. Like, when we do these preview chapters and you and I go pick up our copies, taking that bookmark and slamming it a third into that monster, I'm going to feel like I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to be like, thank God. And also, we won't be reading 3 chapters a week. You know, me and you are going to read this book in a week probably. So
easily.
The binge is going to be fun.
Oh my God. I'm going to be an absolutely unhinged madman that week.
Yeah.
I think for the first time I'll put tabs in my book. I've never been that person, with like 50 colored tabs.
Yes. Yeah.
I will be that person.
Well, you and I got to figure out exactly how we've talked about like 3 different ways of going about this book release. And, we talked about just doing parts, talked about doing the whole book, and then like going back through and talking about it. So who knows? I think what you guys can expect, though, is multiple episodes on the book, most likely. Yeah. And Christian, you're going out of town, so we're going to be recording a couple episodes in advance next week, and so we're going to cover this coming week's preview chapters, and then we're going to have like 1 or 2 span rate episodes that'll be a little bit shorter,
Mm-hmm.
And then once Christian gets back, we'll get caught up on the preview chapters that we've missed since he's been gone.
Yeah, and hey, we have proof of concept. We can do 4 chapters in an hour, and I feel like we didn't rush it. Actually, I feel like we kind of
no
did it. You know,
really, these chapters are a little strange as well. And this is maybe just not remembering how all Stormlight goes, even though we've been rereading it. Is these feel very short, don't they?
Oh, super short. I mean, especially going from the Way of Kings, where it's like, here's a 50-page Dalinar chapter talking about politics.
Yeah,
and now it's like, you know, like these like 2 Kaladin chapters would typically be 1 in the past.
Yeah,
I like it. It's snappy. It's just from week to week. You're like, oh, okay, that's quick.
Yeah, it feels. I mean, when I saw end of day 1, I was like, "What already?" But you know, we talked about it. We said, okay, if it's 13 chapters, let's just say on average, let's just say 8 pages. You know, that's over 100 pages of a book down. So if you think 100, 150 pages for every day, there's 10 days, maybe an epilogue day 0 type thing that I talked about. Like, you know, that kind of checks out. So I'm sure some days will be longer than others, but.
Next week, I'm wagering we're getting some juicy interludes, which will be fun.
They might be insane, bro.
Oh man, it's gonna be some crazy. I'm gonna say this. I asked Jake, the bastard who has read all the chapters that we will release because he got an advanced copy. I said, because he finished it really quick. I said, can you rate them on a scale of Sadeas to Kaladin? And do you know what his answer was?
What?
Taravangian. And I was like, stop right there, man.
Wait, has he read the whole book?
He's read the whole, like, all the preview chapters. He hasn't read the whole book.
Oh, so the advanced copy is just the preview chapters?
Yeah, just the preview chapters, yeah.
Did you apply for it? You can apply for it pretty easily.
I didn't want to.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you
would ruin this.
I don't.
This would ruin this pod.
Because you can't talk ahead. You know, and we would slip up and be like, yeah, Kaladin gets a mohawk and decides about Harley or something. You know?
Yeah. Nah, it's ruined the fun. Like, as fun, as tempting as it was. I'm like,
Yeah, I struggled with wanting to do the preview chapters, as many people do, because I just wanted that release day hype. But I got to tell you, I am happy that we're doing this. I think it's fun. It doesn't ruin the release day for me at all, because it's almost like we're getting that demo and then the full game unlocks at midnight and we already have an idea of how the mechanics are working. And we jump into it. You know, I think this is going to be a good time.
Yeah, man, I'm going to slide cancel straight into Winter.
Yes, there it is.
As always, guys, thanks for accompanying us on this episode of Lost in Roshar. Remember, the most important chapter a man can read is the next one. We'll see you next time as we jump into, hopefully, the Wind and Truth interludes.
And if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, be sure to leave us a review on whichever platform you listen on. And if you have questions or theories, please spam read us at lostinroshar@gmail.com. We'll see you next time on Lost in Roshar, and please remember to keep that safe hand covered.